statistics regarding our spending habits in the country. South Africans are spending 63% of their take-home pay simply servicing debt. And that amount actually goes up to 68% for those who are earning over 20,000 Rand per month. That's a lot of money you're losing out on. Worryingly, yes, it gets worse. Consumers have 33% less purchasing power when compared to 2016. Of course, we can blame that all on the increased costs of, well, everything, really. And that's all according to Debtbusters' debt index for 2022. Its CEO, Benay reckons the silver lining is that more consumers recognize that they need debt management. And Benay, good morning to you. And I suppose the problem is once you reach a point of clarity or a point of terror that you need debt management, it's already too late, isn't it? Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth, and thank you for having me on the show. I think all the statistics you mentioned are accurate. And excuse me, what we'd like to think is these are consumers who are actually doing the responsible thing by facing up to their debt. I think there are many more millions out there, unfortunately, just kind of burying their head under the sand and ignoring it. But these consumers who've actually come to us and other debt counselors asking for services are the ones who are trying to do the responsible thing by paying back the debt. And just to point out how we arrived here, we had several years of salaries not increasing. We had a really tough year of inflation, and we had a year and a half of interest rate increases. Pretty much every other month, the interest rate has gone up. Those three things combined, I'm not even counting load shedding, has really put the consumer, particularly those working for smaller companies, in a really difficult position.
And I'm so glad you phrased it that way as well, because I think there is this perception, Benay, that people who end up in debt review, debt management, debt consolidation, whatever term you want to use, is because they've handled their finances badly. But as you say, it's actually just been very unfortunate because of all these events. So when you now talk about people that are using 63% of their take-home pay to service debt, I imagine then that's not even debt that's being paid off properly. That's probably just servicing the interest, isn't it? You're never going to get out of this.
Yeah, what we see, Gareth, is, we look at three different big groups of type of debt, if you will. And the largest one for us is what we call unsecured debt, which is often personal loans, overdraft facilities, credit cards, and so on. And there, the average interest rate of the incoming cohort for the Q4 2022 was 23.6% per annum. Now, if you put that into context, compared to something like a bond, there the average interest rate was about 10.8%. Now, if you're paying a large loan, and most of these loans happen to be large personal loans we're talking about, almost all of our consumers who came to us had something like this. It's going to eat up a lot of your paycheck. And the reason for that is the interest rate is so high that this type of debt is extremely expensive. Now, it's easy, as you say, to sit here and blame the consumers. I think what we see, and when we ask the consumers, how did you end up in this situation? The answer often is that we needed the money, and the only way we could get the money was to borrow. And I think that's kind of where we are over the last several years. It's an accumulation of the difficult financial conditions for the consumer.
Where is the line in the sand that you tend to find, Benay? Because there might be somebody watching now that hasn't either thought of debt rescue or debt management in any way, but maybe now they're looking at you talking about this going, this might not be a bad idea. So just help those watching now who perhaps should be talking to someone like you. Where's the line in the sand? Where's that moment of clarity?
I think for me, the starting point, Gareth, is understand what your debt situation is. I think often people know about their credit score. They don't necessarily understand it. So I would say understand your credit score, understand what's driving it. On our website, debtbusters.co.za, we have fantastic tools that are free for consumers to engage with and see what the debt profile looks like. And I would urge you, if anyone listening is spending more than 30% of their take-home pay on servicing debt, they should really seek out some sort of external help.
And that external help is the details that you just gave as well. And Benay, I'm going to say thank you very much as well. It's a reality check, I think, for a lot of South Africans. As by the time the banks and your debtors and creditors start knocking, it's probably too late. Don't get there. That's why we have someone like Benay joining us, Debtbusters head, this morning here, because the amount of debt that South Africans are living in really is terrifying. We're back in a moment with your 8 o'clock headlines.